Welcome to the first episode of our brand new podcast, Otterly Curious, all about undergraduate research and the stories that, for the most part, go untold. Tune in once a month as we uncover new discoveries, personal experiences, and the impact of student-led research. This is Jourdan on the mic, and I'm with...
Angelica.
Just-Angelica. And we are UROC Innovation Scholars at Cal State Monterey Bay. We're opening our brand new podcast with a interview-style discussion. So I have a couple questions laid out today. We're going to go over them to get a better idea of Angelica's awesome research. Could you give me like a little tidbit, like if you could do like an elevator pitch about what you research about?
My research was about my team and I going out to agricultural fields and measuring greenhouse gas emissions. I found specifically that reducing fertilizer can reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Sounds like you spent a lot of time in the field.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah, literally.
Well, it's good to have you here today.
Thank you.
So, I asked you to prepare a 6-word mission statement. So, what is your mission statement in 6 words, Angelica?
It is quantify emissions, reduce N fertilizer impact.
And what is N fertilizer impact?
So that is nitrogen fertilizer because plants rely on nitrogen to grow.
Makes a lot of sense.
Can I add something?
Please.
Okay. Yes, plants do need nitrogen to grow. So you're probably asking, why am I saying reduce N fertilizer? The thing is that growers are putting too much fertilizer into these plants. And so what happens is when they irrigate or when it rains or when they tillage, which means just turning the soil, it runs off. And so it can go to our water systems, and a lot of people in the Salinas Valley, the workers mostly, are drinking this water that has nitrogen in it. You know, it turns into nitrous oxide because the microbes in the soil.
And it ends up being this whole issue that really affects everybody in the community.
This is the salad bowl right here. We produce 50% of the nation's lettuce, and that's incredible.
Really important work you're doing.
Thank you.
So I have a couple more questions. You kind of explained your project as at what point does the runoff of fertilizer and nitrogen become wasteful and bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you walk me through some of the steps you take when you gather and analyze data?
So whenever we go out to the field, we bring our machinery, which is 4 items, but they are very, very heavy. In total, it's probably 30 pounds, which is a lot for me. I'm not that strong.
And you work in a team though, right?
You go with one other person, but they're not helping you carry the stuff.
Okay.
They have their own gear. They have their own separate 4 machineries. So when we go sample, there's 24 bases, right? Which are these blue cylinder things that we put into the soil. And when we go out, we divide those bases. So we each do 12 bases to kind of save time. And we always go in the morning as well because that's when the microbes are most active.
So you'd be getting up really early.
Oh yeah, so we did this at 2 different fields. One of our fields is in Soledad, so that's a 40-minute drive. I would be waking up at 6, get there at 8, and then we start measuring. It normally takes us 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I bet you're trying to beat the sun too, right?
Yeah, because we want to get that morning time and that afternoon time to get better estimates of the microbe activity. So we have this lamp shade looking thing. Her name, it's a her, I guess, is Smarty. That's the thing that we put onto the base. And then there's a machine on our back. It's like a backpack, but that's the heaviest one of them all. And that one we call Nodo.
Wow.
That one's more of the computer one. And then we have one in this little bag. It's a satchel. That one is Cot, and it's yellow. She's cute. And then we also have a tablet. So we put Smarty onto the base.
Okay.
And it's very long explanation, but
I'm here for it though.
So Smarty completely closes down onto the base. It pushes air into the soil, which then pushes up the nitrous oxide and carbon dioxide in through the tubes.
Wow.
And it goes through NODO, the one on our back, and it computes it specifically for the carbon dioxide. We can see the fluctuations on our tablet, what the peaks are of nitrous oxide and carbon dioxide are.
It sounds like you know this process like inside out too. It's a really in-depth process.
Yeah, it is. It took a while to get the hang of. It's a lot of small details that you can't forget.
Was it your first time doing any kind of like work like this?
Oh, yeah. It's hard getting around in the field. Imagine walking through furrows with crop in there, trying not to step on the lettuce or the cauliflower, and holding 30 pounds of gear in boots.
I'd be stumbling around.
Yeah. I fell once. Like
You fell?
Yeah. One time, my team and I was wearing my boots like always, and I'm like, this soil can't take me. And yeah, I got stuck. The whole boot got sunken into the soil, and my whole boot came off.
No.
And then I fell down a little bit, but I caught myself.
Can I ask, like, before you were doing this research, what job were you doing before that?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
I asked Crystal, the OChem teacher, if she knew of anybody, because I knew that I had to get on it eventually. I was a sophomore at the time. And she told me to go see Dr. Arlene Hoffa. And so I went to go see her, and she was like, okay, like, you're on the team.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't like an interview or anything, but she was just like happy to take me in, so I'm thankful for that. It was a big change for sure. That day when she welcomed me to the team, she was like, oh, you should see if you can get into UROC as well. And I'm like, okay. I was like, sure, I'll try UROC. And we found out that the application was due that day. So I filled it out all that day.
You knocked it out in one day? Wow.
And then Jessica emailed me and was like, hey, I think you would be a good applicant.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, so I got in.
And just for our listeners, could you give me a little recap of like what UROC, like if you could explain UROC?
Okay. UROC, if you don't know, stands for Undergraduate Research Opportunity Center. UROC is full of different research programs that you can get into depending on what you're looking for. And if you get accepted, then UROC really helps you with everything. I don't know where I would be without UROC or the research that I did.
Shout out the team at UROC.
Shout out the team at UROC.
But back to the research. So you talked about almost getting sucked into a farm field, but can you give me an example of like a setback in your work and something you learned from it?
When I was doing the data analysis part, it took me forever. So I didn't know how to use R yet because I hadn't taken Stat 250. And so I was just using Excel. And for some reason, Excel kept deleting my graphs, all my data, everything.
Wow.
And to be honest, I don't know where it is. I don't have it anymore.
Really?
I don't have any of it. It's lost.
That is so frustrating.
Yeah.
So like, what did you do to come back from that?
I have the graphs on my poster still, so...
Okay, yeah.
I still have those.
Do you feel like there are any prior experiences that kind of like prepared you to do this kind of work?
It was very out of the blue. It's amazing how much knowledge I know about like agriculture now. I just would have never thought that I would know anything about agriculture. It's crazy. I just took the opportunity, to be honest. I guess you don't really need to know what you want to research. You know, you're not stuck in one position. You have many different opportunities out there. Because I was one that thought that I was stuck because I just loved my team so much.
I think everything kind of has a season. You finally hit that submission button and then you move on to other questions, other projects. So
yeah.
So tell me about your first experiences with UROC.
I went with my old roommate. I've heard of UROC before at that time, but I'd never been in the office. I didn't know really what it was about. And I saw Eric, and he was like, "What's your name? You need to get into research right now." And I was like, "I don't know about that." But I would have never thought that within the next few months I would be part of UROC.
How would you say that your work fits into the larger context of like agriculture?
This is going to be big. So, like I've said before, the Salinas Valley is the salad bowl. We produce so much of the nation's crops. And so the Salinas Valley is important because not a lot of people are doing this type of research. And so trying to see which practice works best is important, because if we can implement it here where a lot of the crops are being grown, that could have a big impact on not just the Salinas Valley, but the whole world. Like, climate change is a big thing, so any reduction in nitrous oxide is a big step. I mean, my team has studied this for a long time, and the data is there. It shows that if you just reduce your fertilizer, we can reduce greenhouse gases.
So I guess kind of like wrapping it up, what advice would you give to someone trying to start their own research project?
Just to not give up. Like, it's a cliche for a reason. Like, it's gonna be hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not kidding. It's a lot of work and a lot of dedication. And for me, it was like a lot of about being a perfectionist. But don't put that pressure on yourself. Like, anything and everything that you do will be just fine. There's no point in putting all that pressure, because either way, you're going to come out of this experience a better, more intelligent person, and you're going to come out of it in a better way. So just relax. Don't stress too much. There's a lot of people in your corner. Don't be afraid to reach out to them, and just try your best.
I hope that someone out there felt a little bit more inspired. And thank you for joining Angelica and I on our first episode of Otterly Curious, our podcast all about undergraduate research. This is J-Swizzle
And Angelica.
signing off. We'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye. Otterly Curious is made possible in part by a grant between the HSI Equity Hub at CSU Northridge and Apple, aimed to catalyze HSI programming throughout the CSU system, statewide and nationally. If you're an undergraduate researcher interested in sharing your story on our podcast, Otterly Curious, please visit the UROC office and talk to Eric Barajas, our outreach specialist, or just let us know in the comments.
Thank you.